a sallow, low-tailored dark business suit, with a fair helmet to convey the impression that he was the epitome of the successful Wall Street professional. Each time Nero ran into him, he came away feeling pretty pleased. John's desk engaged principally in an activity called high-yield trading, which consisted in acquiring cheap bonds that yielded, say, 10%, while the borrowing rate for his institution was 5.5%. It netted a 4.5% revenue, also called interest rate differential, which seems small except that he could leverage himself and multiply such profit by the leverage factor. He did this in various countries, borrowing at the local rate and investing in risky assets. It was easy for him to amass over $3 million in face value of such trade across a variety of continents. He hedged the interest rate exposure by selling U.S., U.K., French, and other government bond futures, thus limiting his bet to the differential between the two instruments. He felt protected by this hedging strategy, cocooned, or so he thought, against those nasty fluctuations in the world's global interest rates. The font, and the computers and the functions. John was assisted by Henry, the foreign font whose English was incomprehensible, but it was believed to be at least equally competent in West Banking methods. John knew no method. Here I am. His brains and right business sense, he was wont to say. Henry supplied him with risk assessments concerning the overall portfolio. Whenever John felt worried, he would ask Henry for another freshly updated report. Henry was a graduate student in operations research from John Wagner. His specialty was a field called computational finance, which, as its name indicates, seems to focus solely on running computer programs overnight. Henry's income went from $50,000 to $600,000 in 3 years. Most of the profit John generated for the institution was not attributable to the interest rate differential between the instruments described previously. It came from the changes in the value of the securities John held, mostly because many other traders were acquiring them to imitate John's trading strategy, thus causing the price of these assets to rise. The interest rate differential was getting closer to what John believed was fair value. John believed that the methods he used to calculate fair value were sound. He was backed by an entire department that helped him analyze and determine which bonds were attractive and offered capital appreciation potential. It was normal for him to be earning these large profits over time. John made steady income for his employers, perhaps even better than steady. Every year, the revenues he generated almost doubled as compared to the previous year. During his last year, his income experienced a quantum leap as he saw the capital allocated to his trades swell beyond his wildest expectations. His bonus check was for $10 million, pre-tax, which would generate close to a $5 million total tax bill. John's personal net worth reached $1 million at the age of 32. By the age of 35, it had exceeded $16 million. Most of it came from the accumulation of bonuses, but a sizable share came from profits on his personal portfolio. Of the $16 million, about $14 million he insisted in keeping invested in his business. They allowed him, thanks to the leverage, i.e. use of borrowed money, to keep a portfolio of $50 million involved in his trades, with $36 million borrowed from the bank. The effect of the leverage is that a small loss would be compounded and would wipe him out. It took only a few days for the $14 million to turn into thin air, and for John to lose his job at the same time. As with Carlos, it all happened during the summer of 1998, with the meltdown of high-yield bond values. Markets went into a volatile phase during which nearly everything he had invested in went against him at the same time. His hedges no longer worked out. He was mad at Henry for not having figured out that these events could happen. Perhaps there was a bug in the program. His reaction to the first losses was, characteristically, to ignore the market. One would go crazy if one were to listen to the mood swings of the market, he said. What he meant by that statement was that the noise was mean reverting.